Thank you everyone for joining. This is the second of our webinars in a series of webinars around Amazon Marketing Cloud, which is quite the hot topic these days. And in terms of just logistics for this webinar, we'll go through Matt and I are going to double team and just go through our presentation. We'll have time for Q&A at the end. We will also be sharing the recording after. So that's on the logistics side. Ryan, do you want to just pull up the agenda slide for a quick moment? Yeah, so in terms of what we are going to talk about today, I'll spend a few minutes just covering just background and basics of Amazon Marketing Cloud, what it is, and all of that. And then also touch on just broadly the use cases or buckets of categories we think about when it comes to AMC. Matt, who has been hands-on at, with him and his team around AMC, is going to dive deep and talk about 5 very specific use cases around multi-touch attribution and custom audiences. And like I said, we'll save some time for the Q&A at the end. So that's the agenda. Let me get some introductions out of the way. I am Sreenath Reddy, one of the founders and CEO here at Intentwise, and I'm the host here today. Quick note on Intentwise, there's specifically, we are an analytics/software platform, and we have specifically 3 solutions. One is a bolt-on to Amazon Marketing Cloud, designed to really provide a robust data pipeline out of Amazon Marketing Cloud, so you don't have to write SQL and things like that. We call that Intentwise Explore. The second is a complete data automation platform. So if you're a brand or an agency looking to get your hands around all Amazon and e-com data, that would be through our product called Intentwise Analytics Cloud. And the third solution we have is an ad optimization platform for Amazon, Walmart, Instacart, Target, and many more retailers. So those are kind of the 3 solutions that we offer, all centered around deep analytics infrastructure. So that's about us. Matt, over to you. If you want to introduce yourself and Ad Advance, that'd be awesome.
Sure thing. Yeah. So my name is Matt Wiklund. I'm our CTO at Ad Advance. And Ad Advance is a managed service Amazon advertising agency specializing in Amazon DSP, sponsored ads, and then AMC measurement solutions. We're headquartered in Duluth, Minnesota. If you were here earlier, you heard us talking about the weather a little bit. It gets pretty cold up here. I oversee our development teams and our ad tech teams. So helping design, specific use cases for AMC, implementation of like reportings, UI design, all that good stuff. We are managed service, so we're hands-on keyboard with advertising campaigns. So in terms of like software solutions, we develop them in-house for essentially our own use, with the exception of like reporting tools. We're not SaaS. Yeah, that's a brief overview.
Thank you, Matt. I mean, what I'm excited about is just how hands-on, the Ad Advance team is around this. And so yeah, I'm as much as the audience is excited to learn about what Matt is going to talk about. Also, quick intro, I've got Ryan Burgess from my team on the call here as well. He'll be coordinating things and he'll be sharing things in the chat window as we go along. So just keep an eye on that. With that, Ryan, do you want to just share the slide deck and we dive right in? For those of you that have been on our earlier webinars, so this may be a repetition, so please bear with me for about just a couple of minutes. But I did want to cover some basics around what Amazon Marketing Cloud is. And here's a visual in front of you. It's kind of a made-up visual. But if you think of it a shopper's journey and assume that a particular shopper saw DSP ad impression and then saw sponsored ads click and then a sponsored display click and then purchased. Today, without AMC, a lot of this information is last click attributed. And you don't get information at this grain where you can literally see by shopper all the touches that they have experienced with Amazon Media, right? So if you look at the ad console, that purchase will get attributed to that last click, and you get aggregated data today. But the way AMC has changed the game is that in AMC, at an individual shopper level, you could actually see every one of these events tracked. right? So if you go to the next slide, Ryan, so you think about AMC, Amazon Marketing Cloud, as what's called a secure, privacy safe, clean room that has event and shopper level data captured and stored for you. The access to AMC is either via web console or through an API if you were to be working with a partner like us. And then today, AMC is available for anyone that has any kind of DSP spend. And we'll talk about, if you don't already have an AMC instance, why and what you should be doing right away. But at a high level, that's AMC. And just to take this one step further, and what makes the data unique, again, like I said before, I mean, the three visuals at the top are the actual tables within AMC: DSP impressions, DSP clicks, sponsored ads, traffic, among many other tables. But the thing that is exciting about each of these data sets is that there's a field called user ID that allows you to join all of these events. Now, of course, you can't query on the user ID and look at what a very specific user has done, and that goes against the concept of clean rooms, but you can aggregate stuff. So in essence, you can literally see things like, okay, what are my performance metrics by the different paths shoppers have taken? Like, for example, like an upper funnel campaign followed by sponsored ads. What does that combination look like? How do they perform in isolation? Basically, you can just go ask a lot more interesting questions and get answers to those. And then the one last thing that has happened fairly recently is the idea of you can create custom audiences that your DSP may not have, and then go after them. And I know Matt is going to dig deep into that later on, so I'm not going to steal the thunder here, but we'll talk more about that. But that's AMC. I will say this, just keep this in mind. If you do not already have an AMC instance, you should go get one, either through your existing partner, or if we can help you get one. If you don't have one already, just messages or email us. Ryan will drop some contact info in the chat. One thing to note is, let's say you requested for an instance today. It'll get created in a few days. And the data that AMC collects is from 7 days prior to the creation date. So what I mean by that is, like, you're better off getting an instance that is starting to collect data for you right away versus waiting for this for a future time. So I would do that and act on that right away if you don't already have an instance and you're spending money on DSP. And then the second thing I will say is certification. I personally went through this certification. They have put great content in terms of courses leading up to the certification. So I would highly encourage you to go through those courses. They're very informative, in my opinion, and try to aim to get that certification for yourself or some members on your team. This is going to be my last slide before I turn it over to Matt. The way we think about AMC, given the granularity of data that is available, we think about AMC in kind of 5 very specific use cases. Going from just left to right, one is incrementality, right? Like, is my ad spend driving incremental sales? Like, a simple use case in that regard is the only place to get new to brand metrics on sponsored product campaigns today is from AMC. You cannot get it anywhere else. So that's an example. Audience discovery, again, finding and creating new audiences and being able to target them in your DSP. We'll get into that more. Multi-touch analytics. That is analyzing exposure of a shopper to multiple different campaigns and seeing the interaction between them. That's what we bucket under multi-touch. Campaign optimization. There's a lot of things you can do. For instance, you can really understand the mapping of frequency of exposure to performance. Like, what is the ideal number of exposures that is driving the most efficiency for you, and use that metric to adjust settings on your DSP campaigns. And that's just one of many examples under campaign optimization. And lastly, customer insights. This is where you could start to get at customer lifetime value. I mean, if you're a 3P seller, you've had some way of understanding that. But if you're 1P, you have not. But as more data collects in your AMC instance, you could really start to get very specific about customer lifetime value. You can start to understand, let's say, subscribe and save is relevant to you. You can start to understand, like, at what point do people subscribe, and those who have not subscribed, you could go target them. So there's a lot of interesting things that can be done from a customer insights perspective. But Matt today is going to deep dive into kind of two of these buckets, which is audience discovery and multi-touch. By the way, I just want to remind you, if you have any questions along the way, there's a Q&A widget down below. Please feel free to drop in your questions. We'll pick them all up at the end. And before I turn it over to Matt, we just have a simple poll to run. I just want to understand kind of your current state with AMC. If you don't mind, just take a moment and answer the questions. The three choices really are, like, you already have an instance and have access to it, or you do not have an instance and are spending money on DSP, or you don't spend any money on DSP and you don't have an instance. So please take a moment and answer that. Ryan, I think you just give us a summary read on what you're saying. I think that should be good enough.
It's like we have about 50% that are accessing AMC. We're still getting some responses here. It's pretty evenly split. We've got about half of our audience using AMC with an instance, and about half of our audience who does not have an audience or an instance created yet for AMC.
Gotcha. Matt, with that, like, I'll just turn it over to you, and I know Ryan will bring up your slides in a moment.
Sounds good. Thank you, Sreenath. Yeah, so just echoing a couple of things that Sreenath hit during the intro to this presentation. AMC is an incredibly powerful measurement solution, and there's actually some directly actionable things that you can use within platform, which we'll get into, such as custom audience creation. So there's actually, like, targeting functions as part of AMC, like built-in utilities outside of the measurement and the holistic picture that it can give you. So if you are running Amazon DSP, it's a no-brainer to use a platform like Intentwise, or to request an AMC instance to be created from your DSP service provider. Basically, all of Amazon's advertising information outside of Amazon Marketing Cloud is heavily siloed. You can pull information for a single ad type, and you get kind of a one-dimensional, or roughly, picture of how your performance is for a certain ad product. But for the vast majority of brands on Amazon, there's overlap across all of these different ad types and campaign tactics. And with that last touch attribution model, it only gives you a glimpse into customer journey and what the true performance is across your full mix of campaigns. This first slide or topic that I'm going to dive into a little bit is on multi-touch attribution. And there are a ton of elements to multi-touch attribution, which we'll cover. But first, let's start with the default attribution model and the pros and pitfalls of that default model, which is a last touch attribution model. So what that means is when a shopper enters a query into Amazon search or is reached with an Amazon DSP ad, as they progress through the funnel, through the purchase journey, whatever ad was last clicked is typically attributed with a purchase, with the ultimate conversion. Last touch, where a click trumps a view, basically. So if you're for viewable attribution campaigns like Amazon DSP or sponsored display audience targeting, that's view-based attribution. A sponsored ad click would trump a view as long as it's all within the same window. So the benefit of that last touch attribution model is the credit for the conversion is attributed to the ad that ultimately drove the conversion. So the last touch prior to actually purchasing the product gets full conversion credit. The drawback to that is that you could be running a full funnel strategy or multiple ad strategies within your account, and the ads that drove the initial interests that led them into the purchase journey and ultimately to conversion gets no credit. So an example is laid out on the screen here. So let's say I'm cruising weather.com and I'm served an ad for a running shoe. I'm in market for a running shoe. I'm interested in them. So I click through on the Amazon DSP ad. It takes me to an Amazon product detail page for running shoe number 1. I really like the brand. looks like they have cool offerings. So I go back to search results and I just want to see what the rest of their catalog looks like. So I key in a branded search, Acme running shoe, into Amazon search. I see a sponsored brand video ad for the same exact product, showcases product features and a lot of detail. I love it. I click through. Then running shoe number 2 catches my eye on that product page. I click through on that just to check out the PDP real quick, hit the back button, and end up checking out for product number 1. So that weather.com Amazon DSP ad, it initiated my interest in this product. I clicked through on it, or I saw it. I went to Amazon.com and looked it up. The sponsored brand video ad solidified my intent. I was considering it. It showcased awesome features. I click through on it. I'm interested. But my last click before I purchased was on a product page defensive ad, like a cross promo product targeting ad. Ultimately, I buy running shoe number 1. The full credit of the conversion goes to that product targeting ad for running shoe number 2. So my Amazon DSP ad, 0 sales spend associated with it. My sponsored brand video ad, spend associated with it, 0 sales, no ROAS. Yeah, so even though those ultimately steered me to the conversion, they received no conversion credit for it. So that's kind of the pitfall of the last touch model. If you're running strategies that drive awareness, that drive consideration, and then you're running a really good bottom of funnel campaign to capture that interest and convert it, those bottom of funnel campaigns are ultimately credited with the full value of the conversion under all of Amazon's standard reporting that you get in the ad console or through the standard Amazon advertising APIs. So what multi-touch attribution does via Amazon Marketing Cloud is it allows you to assign values across the full journey to give a more holistic picture of how your ads are performing. Instead of having 0 sales from that awareness campaign that ultimately led me to a conversion, you can assign partial credit to it. There's also other custom attribution models like first touch or linear touch. First touch would assign the full value of the conversion to that ADSP weather.com ad. Linear touch would assign equal weighting to every single step along the way. And then companies like Intentwise, through AMC, we can create custom attribution models where we assign weighted values to first touch, last touch. Yeah, to be able to measure campaign performance in terms of conversions, key conversion metrics like ROAS, conversion rates, et cetera, across our ad mix with a model that's more in tune with my ad strategies. So high level, multi-touch attribution helps assign appropriate credit to every stage of the customer journey, every ad exposure along the way, and it helps you make measured decisions regarding your campaigns. If that initial upper funnel ad has a 0 ROAS and a bunch of spend associated with it, shows no sales, it may cause you to reduce investment in it and over allocate in the bottom of funnel. But that campaign could be doing its job, is driving awareness that eventually leads to a conversion. It's just not reflected in traditional metrics. That's why multi-touch attribution is awesome. It helps you get a more holistic measurement of how your full stack of campaigns is performing. When is it worth it to change your attribution model? So like changing from a last touch model and using a custom or multi-touch attribution model, it's not necessarily a universal fit, right? If you're running pure like bottom of funnel sponsored product campaigns, there's probably not going to be a ton of multiple touch points across all of your campaigns. The amount of users that go on this more complex journey where they're touched by a variety of tactics or different ad types, it may be quite small. But if you're running a full funnel approach, or at least, you know, somewhat of a full funnel approach, then you're likely to have several multiple touch points. So key thing with a full funnel approach is multiple touch points are a feature. They're intended. Like that upper funnel awareness campaign, weather.com, that drove that initial click through. That's designed to capture attention, drive awareness of the product offering, the catalog, the brand. So that way, when they're ready to search, it may prompt them immediately to start a search and start the purchase journey. But brand recollection is huge. Product recollection is huge. It's a nudge to get people interested in the product. Then your bottom of funnel campaigns, like your sponsored product, keyword targeting campaigns, sponsored products in general, sponsored ads in general, are more bottom of funnel. Those exist to capture the interest that you drove by through upper funnel tactics. So by design, bottom of funnel campaigns have an advantage using the last touch model. They're there to capture the interest that you drove from your other tactics. So those other tactics, they're not getting any conversion credit. Your bottom of funnel campaigns are intended to get those conversions. So they're under a last touch model, get a high percentage of those conversions. Yeah, so if you're running upper funnel or a full funnel campaign structure, it helps give you a much better picture of how those upper funnel campaigns are doing.
Matt, I'll just add a couple of points there, just in terms of our own experience with this, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
One is one query I suggest everyone should run is like, is there multi-touch or not? If 90% of the spend doesn't have any multi-touch, there's no point talking about multi-touch attribution models. And there is kind of very specific queries you can run just to understand whether there's multi-touch behavior or not, right? That's one component. The other component I would add is, interestingly, even within sponsored products, you could start to see the interaction between, let's say, sponsored display and sponsored product campaigns, right? Especially if you're running remarketing using sponsored display.
Right.
If you want to understand what was that first driver of exposure, you could actually do that from AMC. So just a couple of call outs.
100% agree. Yeah. Another piece I'd add too. So the second component of, is it worth it to change your attribution model, is material influence. So if only 5% or 10% of your conversions have multiple touch points, yeah, it's not worth it to move to a completely new attribution model. However, one caveat to that I would say would be, if you're investing a material amount in upper funnel ads and you're not seeing that overlap, you're not seeing multiple touch points, then there's some sort of disconnect between the top of funnel and bottom of funnel. You should, if you're investing in the top of funnel driving awareness campaigns, that should be leading to bottom of funnel conversions. So in my opinion, overlap should exist if you're running a material amount of upper funnel spend. If there isn't a high degree of overlap or multiple touch points, that means that potentially your upper funnel campaigns are too loosely targeted, or you don't have like bridge strategies, mid funnel stuff to capture that awareness appropriately, or you're not investing enough in like category keywords through sponsored ads, for example. So I would say it's worth it to check what your results would be using multi-touch or custom attribution, linear attribution, first touch attribution, just to see what the results are. And then if you are running a full funnel advertising structure, if you're targeting upper funnel awareness tactics, like you should, if there's not a high degree of overlap, it should change how you like you're targeting for those upper funnel campaigns. It should influence your tactics. So on this slide, this is a fairly involved graph, but it really showcases the power of overlapping and multiple touch points throughout the ad journey. These are real results for one of our clients. And basically, what we're measuring here are purchase rates through Amazon DSP and sponsored ads when they've been exposed to only a single ad type or have been exposed to multiple ad types together, and what the multiple touch points do to conversion rates or purchase rates when they've been exposed to multiple media channels. So starting from the left, we have DSP OTT video ads. It has a 0.00% purchase rate standalone using a standard last touch model. If somebody's been exposed to video and sponsored ads, the purchase rate increases to 0.28%, which is above the overall average for this account. If they've been exposed to DSP video and DSP display retargeting, purchase rate increases to 2.14%, massive lift. So even though this isn't multi-touch attribution, this is an overlap. This is a really good indicator that using a multi-touch model would be very effective or really important for measuring the true performance of upper funnel ads. Those OTT campaigns are driving a ton of interest, but because of the last touch model, they're never really credited with the conversion. So using OTT only looks like it has no conversions, a 0 ROAS, very poor conversion rates. But when you look at a more complete picture using multi-touch, those metrics are going to get a lot better. And that's a common thread across all tactics. So if we look at DSP display upper funnel only, 0.06, when they're exposed to sponsored ads with that, 0.56, well above average, up to 4%. Even sponsored ads, unbranded keywords, and product targets convert at a much lower rate than when they've been exposed to multiple media types, DSP retargeting. DSP retargeting, so like view-based retargeting, people that looked at your product page but have not purchased it yet, is a very bottom of funnel strategy. It's credited with an immense number of conversions, but all of those ad exposures leading up to the ultimate conversion that happened before the DSP retargeting exposures, they're not credited with conversions. That DSP retargeting ROAS looks great using a last touch model, but no credits assigned to all the leading awareness consideration tactics that you ran prior to them being re-exposed. Yeah, so basically multi-touch completely changes the performance of the majority of their upper funnel campaigns. If you look at it using a last touch model, they look really poor in terms of ROAS. When you look at it using a multi-touch model, ROAS is a lot more flat across all the advertising tactics, and it shows how effective their campaigns are at moving people down the funnel, capturing awareness, driving consideration, leading to conversions. I'll pause here. Sreenath, do you have any additional items to cover for multi-touch?
I think the point you made on the previous slide, which is when you do not see multi-touch and you are engaged in upper funnel tactics, you've got something that's going wrong in that funnel. So I think that was an important point too, to be taken note of, but no additional points. This has been great.
Thank you. Yeah. So key thing with all of this, like the multi-touch, the overlap, none of this is possible without Amazon Marketing Cloud. All of those siloed data points that you traditionally get using a last touch model, whether through the API, whether from the ad console, you can't adjust attribution models. You can't measure overlap. You can't measure truly the effectiveness of upper funnel strategies without something like AMC, which merges all of those siloed insights into like a true holistic picture of how your ads are performing. So it's incredibly powerful. Overlap and custom attribution, multi-touch attribution are among like the most valuable use cases in terms of measurement. And it truly has actionable outcomes coming out of that analysis. It tells you whether your full funnel structure is maybe broken at the top of funnel, like we were just talking about. It gives you a better idea of how your upper funnel campaigns are actually leading to bottom line improvement or not. And that leads to optimization decisions, changes in ad investment, and a variety of other actions coming out of it. So AMC, incredibly powerful for measuring all the Amazon ad types and how they perform in conjunction with one another. All right, so pivoting to the next topic. This is a really, really fun one. So as Sreenath mentioned earlier, a predecessor to being able to get an AMC instance is to have some amount of DSP spent. So this is a feature that ties into Amazon DSP, custom audiences. AMC allows you to build all kinds of queries from user level data that's then aggregated into basically limitless dimensions or breakdowns. It gives you tons of valuable information. With AMC custom audiences, we can actually convert those queries and those breakdowns into custom audiences that we can target with Amazon DSP. So I think the best way to demo this is just talking through use cases. And also, like Sreenath mentioned earlier, AMC certification, like AMC can kind of seem like a black box because it really does have like limitless use cases for Amazon brands and even non-endemic brands advertising through DSP. So a good way of understanding like practical applications of it is going through the certification. The best way to frame up an AMC question, in my opinion, is like in terms of a use case, or what is an answer I'm looking to get from my brand. And then like Intentwise, companies like Intentwise can tell you whether it's possible through AMC. All right, so AMC custom audiences. A couple of my favorite ones tie into retargeting. So bottom of funnel tactics that are much more granular than typical view-based retargeting. So Amazon DSP, we can target any ASIN that's been viewed in the last 0 to 90 days. That's great. It's a really powerful tactic. We can conquest competitor views like close substitutes. We can retarget with our own products. People that have looked at it, haven't purchased. It's a great way to give them a nudge to ultimately convert. But we can get even more targeted and refined with view-based retargeting through AMC custom audiences. A few examples of that: cart abandonment. This one's huge. So rather than just targeting wide open people that viewed the product but haven't purchased it, through AMC custom audiences, we can target those that added a product to their cart but didn't complete the checkout process. You can set auto refresh times. So if you want like a super warm audience, people that added it within the last 7 days, for example, and that'll refresh, it'll roll over every single day for the look back that you specify. Super powerful. Obviously incredible ROAS, great conversion rates with that tactic. A little pro tip for cart abandonment audiences. We like to target off Amazon inventory with the tactic. So if you added it to your cart, there's a good chance that you haven't taken it out of your cart yet. So if you're on Amazon actively browsing, if they eventually make it to the checkout page, like the product's still sitting in there, it's more incremental to focus on off Amazon inventory, showcase the product they added to their cart, and that's a good trigger to get them back to Amazon and complete the checkout process, versus like reaching people on Amazon with very high CPMs that have a good chance to just purchase it organically since it's already in cart. Another cool tactic, single or multiple page views. So standard view-based retargeting. There's no definition of whether somebody's viewed it one time or multiple times. Your product detail page. So through AMC custom audiences, we can target a super warm audience that's looked at the product several times over a look back period, or we can target a likely more incremental audience that have only looked at it a single time. So if somebody's looked at it, 15 times or something like that in the last week, they may purchase it organically. Like they're already aware of the product. They've already strongly considered it. They haven't converted yet. It's maybe less incremental. A single view though, they demonstrated interest. They looked at it, or 2 views, for example. It's a colder audience. Yes, it's going to have a lower ROAS than multiple page views, but it may be more incremental for your account. So being able to parse that out is a powerful tool made possible through AMC custom audiences. And then another cool one is we could target sponsored ads clicks. So if you have a specific campaign set up, like a ranking campaign for a very high value competitive keyword, for example, we could target somebody that clicked through on that sponsored product campaign versus just everybody. So maybe we want to hit, like for a ranking strategy, we want to drive order velocity from searches that stemmed from that target. We can reach audiences based on, what campaign they clicked through on, for example. And even more powerful on the next slide. Oh man, 2 slides, I guess. All right, so we'll cover purchase-based targeting. So another tactic that you can do with Amazon DSP is repurchasing campaigns. Somebody that's bought your product once, you can target them for repeat orders again. What's a huge advantage of ADSP over sponsored display is you can set exclusions too. So if you're a supplement brand and you have a 30-day supply, you can exclude purchasers that bought in the last 30 days. Their supply is not up. They're probably not going to buy it again like 7 days later, right? So you can target, say, people that bought 45 days ago to 90 days ago is a rough example. Through AMC custom audiences, you can enhance that targeting considerably. So one-time purchasers are a great audience to target for repurchasing strategies. People that bought multiple times are obviously aware of the product. They've made multiple purchases. They're likely, brand loyal. But somebody that only purchased one time, we want to encourage that LTV. We want to get them to convert again. So we can target people that only bought in brand one time or a certain product one time. For supplements, adding to that example, we could target somebody that's only bought a 30-day supply one time, and then target them with a 60-day supply, and trying to upsell them with this tactic too. So being able to differentiate between one-time purchasers and multiple purchasers, or even add exclusions for those that have made multiple purchases or a lot of purchases, can be a really solid tactic through AMC. And one example of where we maybe want to target people that have made multiple purchases would be if they're flirting with competitors. Let's stop that. Let's stop that behavior, cut it out. So you could pair competitor ASIN views with those that have made purchases within your brand. You can do that through standard DSP targeting tactics, but you can specify one or multiple purchasers too, with using AMC custom audiences. So it ties into the one-time multiple categories above. All right, so we've got a couple different tactics on this page, but this first one I think is really cool. So standard view-based retargeting, it requires a product detail page view to retarget them. But through AMC custom audiences, we can target people that didn't click through on your ad, but executed a search that triggered sponsored ad impressions. That's sweet. It's an incremental strategy from, typical view-based retargeting. They don't have a page view, but they executed a search that's highly relevant to your products. So a little bit more incremental, not exposed directly to your product detail page, but executing high relevancy searches to your product. And you can pick those campaigns too. So you can essentially pick those keywords. Final use case, the graph on this page shows Amazon DSP, a cost curve based on the number of exposures a user's been served with. So 1 on the horizontal axis means they've been served 1 DSP impression, 2 DSP impressions, so on. As users are exposed to more impressions, purchase intent increases. But there's a cost efficiency curve to those additional exposures where above a certain level, the incremental cost of those impressions outweighs the conversion benefit. So through AMC, we can figure out frequency exposure curves. Through AMC custom audiences, we can target users across orders that hit certain impression frequencies. So in the graph, we can see those with 1 impression have very high cost per add to carts and low sales per 1,000 impressions. As they work their way up to 7 impressions on average, that's an optimized cost curve. 7's the sweet spot for this client, this example. So one thing that we can do is across our upper funnel orders, for example, we can target users specifically that have only received 1 impression over whatever look back we're looking at and hit them with additional impressions to work them up the cost curve or up the impression curve and reach, that more optimal frequency count. Another thing that we can do is avoid gross overexposure to our ads. So with Amazon DSP, we can set frequency caps that limit the number of impressions over hours or days. But they're set at the order level or the line item level. If you're running several different orders, there's no control right now for overlapping audiences across orders. So several audience members could be targeted 20 times, 30 times potentially per day even if you set tight frequency caps within your DSP orders. So what you can do with AMC is look across your full order structure, create an audience that's been exposed a lot of times, and then exclude that audience in your Amazon DSP campaigns for a certain period. So impressions stop for a certain period. Eventually their frequency count, their exposure count is going to decline because of that. They'll drop out of the exclusion pool and you'll start retargeting them. So it's just a way to prevent overexposure across your full mix of ad strategies. Overall, AMC, there are a ton of use cases. So AMC custom audiences, there are a ton of potential audiences to target. It's very powerful, and it's just kind of like the next level within ADSP.
One thing, these have been awesome use cases, Matt. This is fantastic. One thing I'll add is that whatever audience criteria you come up with, like the pool has to be greater than 2,000 people. So I think the more narrower you get, the likelihood of the audience criteria not qualifying does go up. But just keep that in mind as you think about criteria for your audiences.
Great point.
Awesome. No, this has been fantastic. I think, again, I want to reiterate, if you are incurring any kind of DSP spend, you should absolutely go get an AMC instance for yourself. And of course, if you need help with that, we are here to help. Again, if you have questions, drop them in the Q&A box. Matt, there's a few that are already there. I think we can pick 2 or 3 of these. We may be short on time to answer every one of them. If you don't get to yours, we'll certainly follow up on an email. And then we'll certainly be sharing out the recordings shortly.
Do you want me to?
Yeah, go
Sreenath,
for it.
do you want to take the questions, or do you want?
Yeah, I mean, I can read some. Mohammed has a question, says, Amazon sales attribution only works on the last attribution method. Can we see ad sales on VCPM campaigns because there isn't any click in it? And correct me if I'm wrong, Matt, but all those events are tracked, so you can tie that exposure to that conversion whichever way you want it to. But the events are captured within AMC.
Correct. Yeah. And the standard attribution model, there are ad products that have view-based attribution, like VCPM, sponsored display audience targeting, or DSP. It's view-based attribution. So if it's viewed and there hasn't been a click on another ad, it's going to be credited with a conversion. If there's a click on any other ad, a click trumps a view. If there's a click on a view-based attribution campaign, it's still credited with a conversion too. So a click on any attribution model trumps a view, but if there are no clicks, then the view-based ad product will credit it with a conversion. So sponsor products, no view-based attribution, for example, DSP or sponsored display audience targeting. Views, if no clicks, would be credited.
There's another interesting question. What is the best way to understand if DSP is cookie bonging people and getting credit for customers that otherwise would not have converted anyways? Okay. And I understand that can't be deterministic. So create a way to understand that with AMC data. Yeah, so I'm not sure I have a great answer on this one. I just, any thoughts on this, Matt?
No, so I think what you're maybe getting at here, customers that would have otherwise converted anyways, we're talking about organic cannibalization. So if you were to run like a retargeting campaign, targeting 1-day views, somebody that viewed it in the last 1 day, good chance they could convert organically. If you're targeting that audience, DSP will pick up the conversion credit for it, or sponsored display view-based retargeting. So there's no way to measure like would-haves or could-haves. So like organic cannibalization is kind of tough to measure through any measurement service, whether AMC, their standard API. All you can really do is iterate and figure out what's most incremental. So, potentially excluding like very short look back or extremely warm audiences in your targeting strategies.
Yeah. Until we are able to get some kind of a control group that has zero exposure to ads, that hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
So, cool. There's another question here. It says, can we use, I think these are tied together a little bit. Can we use AMC audiences for link out campaigns?
We can.
Yeah. So, and just Matt, how does the tagging on that work in terms of instrumentation? Can you elaborate on that if there's any?
Yeah, sure. So for link out campaigns, you're going to have Amazon ad tags or the now deprecated pixels, just some simple 1x1s. Either way, you have these conversion events that are tracked through ADSB conversion tracking. And it's just a change to the query within AMC. Instead of using Amazon conversions like orders, Amazon ad sales, you're using off Amazon conversions. So you can define the event type, and measure on a conversion basis.
Gotcha. So there's a few more questions, but I think we can follow up on email to each of these. We are short on time. So we'll get the recording of the webinar out to everyone if you want to watch it again. Our contact information is in front of you. Reach out to Matt or me or Ryan. The email is right there. And then, so thank you for joining. Matt, this has been awesome. And I'm sure some of them probably reach out to you with questions. But until next time, again, wish you well and we'll see you soon.
Thank you so much. Sreenath, you're great. Take care.
Take care. Bye.